Aloha, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michelle Pope. I work for Hawaii Community Foundation. I'm the program officer for Hawaii Island, and you are here for the Puna Strong Collaboration Grants info session. I want to start just by introducing a few of the key folks for this program with the county. We'll introduce Misty and Douglas, and then my team at HCF. I'll just ask Robbie and Kate to give a brief introduction for those who are not familiar with us. So, Misty, you're up.
Hi, aloha everyone. My name is Misty Carter, the program coordinator here with the Disaster Recovery Division. I've been working with the Puna Strong grantees for about 3 years now. I'll hand it over to Douglas.
Mahalo, Misty. Aloha kako. Douglas Lay, Disaster Recovery Officer with the County of Hawaii. Have a privilege of working with many of you all. Thanks for joining today. Our effort here really with the Puna Strong Collaboration Grants is to move the work that many of the Puna Strong grantees, both past and current, and also other folks in the community have been working on to really kind of bring work to a next level through more integrative collaboration over the next year. So thank you for your interest, and look forward to kind of working with everyone through this process. Yeah. Jen?
Hey everyone, I'm Jen Myers. I'm do our communications here in disaster recovery. Thanks.
Do you want me to go next, Michelle? I think we got all the county people. Hi, everybody. Robbie Kane. I'm a program director here at the Hawaii Community Foundation. I'm based in Honolulu, and I work with Michelle and Kate on our Hawaii Island programs, including the Puna Strong program, which is supported largely by the Oak Foundation Fund here at the Hawaii Community Foundation. So happy to be able to be a part of this and excited to hear and learn about the next steps for the program. Maybe Kate, you can go before Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kate Landau. I'm also based in Honolulu at the Hawaii Community Foundation and support Michelle and all programs on Hawaii Island, including the Puna Strong program.
Thanks.
Michelle?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. And my name is Michelle. I'm based in Kailua Kona. And like I said, I'm the program officer for Hawaii Island. I just started in April, so I'm kind of jumped in the middle of this program, but this opportunity is new and I'm excited that we can offer it. To start, I'm going to ask Douglas to give just a little bit of history on Puna Strong and how we got here today. I know some of you are very familiar with it, Lou, Jessica, but just for those who aren't, I'm just gonna turn it over to Douglas to give a brief recap of the program.
Great, thanks so much, Michelle. So for folks who may be aware, or those who may be newer to the program, Puna Strong began 4 years ago. It's part of kind of the county's larger portfolio around building community resilience. We were able to leverage an allocation of funding from the state legislature to support Hawaii Island recovery, specifically in Puna, and partner with Hawaii Community Foundation to be able to design and launch this program about 4 years ago. So it is really kind of a public sector and philanthropy collaboration. You know, in our first year, we were able to work with more than 30 grantee partners. It was really to kind of directly support the work that folks are doing in the years kind of after the community was not only recovering from the eruption in 2018, but also I believe we quickly found ourselves in the pandemic too, in all the ways that folks stepped up. After that first round of funding, we did a second year of work that focused both on the resources it would take to support direct projects and work in the community, as well as supporting the infrastructure of the organizations on the ground doing the work. And so those that applied and were selected as part of the second round of Puna Strong all experienced organizational assessments, kind of peer coaching, and resources related to technical assistance, as well as kind of direct funds towards programs and projects serving folks in the Puna region. And in this most recent round of funding, which we announced about, I think, 9 months ago, we took a similar approach, right? But really, we're really working with organizations who could scale up kind of the work that they were doing. And so we're currently partnering with 10 organizations serving Puna to be able to do the work of Puna Strong. These collaboration grants that we'll be talking about today is really a related kind of next step. We recognize that there is really important work happening across both Puna Makai, Puna Maukat, where we do our work. And it is not just the Puna Strong organization, there's other organizations, nonprofits, and kind of other entities, whether it be faith-based groups, private sector, and other kinds of community hui, that we kind of see an opportunity for people to step into roles of leadership and convene through this grant opportunity in the ways that many folks already are, right, in the work in communities day to day. And so really trying to match kind of this funding opportunity to work that is happening or is possible through this collaborative grants. I think throughout the Puna Strong program, there's been a couple of very important key touch points. One, of course, is focusing on resources to do the work, as well as the capacity of the people doing the work, people as well as organizations. And what I think Michelle will walk through a little bit later in terms of priority within kind of this funding opportunity, it is tied back to the Kilauea Recovery and Resilience Program in terms of the scope and nature of the work and what folks are looking to accomplish. Really the work that has lived within the resilience capacity areas that the county and community leadership kind of co-own that we've been working on for the past 3 years. So just, happy to, answer questions towards the end. I think Michelle and I are here for that for sure. But just to help set some context to where we've been and what we're trying to accomplish with this next funding opportunity. I really appreciate everyone's interest and time.
Mahalo, Douglas. Okay, so I'm gonna just walk through the funding opportunity with you folks. To start, I want to show you where to find it. If you're wondering after this meeting where to go, you guys can see my screen. So when you go to the Hawaii Community Foundation homepage, just hover over grants and go to open applications. Scroll down and you'll find Puna Strong collaboration grants listed under open our competitive grants. Click the link and then you'll see the funding opportunity there. So if you ever want to reference it and don't know where to find it, that is where you can find it. All right, so I'm going to pull up the funding opportunity. So I'm not going to go through it line by line. You can read that at your leisure, but I just highlighted some important points I want to review with you guys today. So of course, the deadline is October 10th. The average range of the grants we're looking at will be 15,000 to 50,000. Want to emphasize that it's a range. If you think you would need more for your program, you may ask for more, but we just would ask that you justify the ask for that amount in your application. But we're thinking the average will be within this range here. Douglas gave some background. I don't need to go over that again, but I do want to point out that this funding opportunity is not just for our current Puna Strong 3 grantees. It's open to any 501c3 that is serving the Puna area. And again, with the overview, as Douglas mentioned, the intention of this FO is to foster collaboration between nonprofit organizations with other nonprofits, government agencies, community leaders, and/or for-profit entities. So just to put that in other words, the organization that applies for the grant must be a nonprofit, 501c3, but you may partner with an organization or an individual that is not a nonprofit. But the one who is applying should be the nonprofit. We're looking for initiatives that go beyond one-time events, focusing instead on programs or projects that promote long-term partnership building and resource sharing. Applicants are encouraged to propose initiatives that result in measurable outcomes with a focus on collaboration. The focus of the proposed work should be on creating a lasting impact through strong inter-organizational partnerships. Welcome, Layla. I can't see you, but welcome. So again, this funding opportunity is not intended to support a single day event or a sponsorship. We're looking for more long-term lasting impact projects or programs. again, it says here, eligibility, you must be a 501c3 nonprofit serving the Puna district. The grant terms are for a 12-month period, and I'll go over the timeline once we're through with this document. And it's just reiterating the range there. Reporting for this grant. So we will ask for a interim progress report 6 months through. That'll be at the end of April. And then you'll be required to submit a final report after the 12 months. That would be due the end of November. And then we also ask that you be open to participating in a meeting during the grant period just to discuss, give us your feedback. We'll ask for updates on the progress of your collaboration, just kind of a check-in to see how that's going. You may access the Kilauea Recovery and Resilience Plan at the link here. All right, now we're moving on to the application itself. So if you have not applied for a grant with Hawaii Community Foundation before, I want to stress to please get yourself registered as an organization. That should be the first thing you do after this call. It does take a little bit of time to get you established. We do ask for a lot of reports in order to set yourself up as an organization. So please, if you have not applied for a grant, please make sure to do so. If you have applied for a grant before, please check your org profile to make sure all of your documents are updated. That's one of the main things that holds us up when we're doing our due diligence is outdated financial reports or operating budgets. So if you could do that when you log into the portal, that would save us a lot of time in processing your applications. Let's see. Pretty standard language here. Again, it talks about the org profile. So if you are a first-time applicant, these are the list of documents that you'll need to set up your profile. And then in the application itself, so you'll fill out everything in our grants portal, and there are 4 tabs that you'll need to provide information for your application. So the first one is a program overview. That's pretty standard demographic information about your program, who you're serving, ages, where it aligns with our change framework. That's a framework that guides Hawaii Community Foundation and the work we do. So if you want more information on that, that is linked there as well. The second tab is the program information. So this is where you kind of get into the meat of what you're offering and what you're proposing. In the first question, organization description, this is where we ask you to identify the organization or organizations that you intend to collaborate with for this project. So please be very explicit in stating who those organizations are. An executive summary. So that's a brief summary of your organization. This is what we pull for like press releases and like social media posts. So just keep that in mind as you're filling out the executive summary. The problem or opportunity, that's where you will describe the problem that you're addressing or the opportunity for your program. Data is really helpful there. If you have any data around the problem or opportunity, please provide it there. The activities, there's the actual what you're going to do and what you plan to do with your program. A timeline is also helpful there. And then the results, what you expect to be the expected outcomes of your project or program. The budget, we have a standard budget template in the portal. If you're not familiar of where to find that, please reach out and let me know and I can help you find those. But it's a pretty standard expenses and income template for you to fill out. Something that's different with this funding opportunity is we are asking you to provide a letter of support from the organization or organizations you intend to partner with. So we'll ask you to upload those letters into the portal in a PDF. There are no other additional documents required there. And then just some resources. The KRRP is linked there again. Deadline, and then my contact info is at the bottom. If you need to reach me, please call or email. I'm pretty much available if I'm not in a meeting, so I'm happy to help. And that's it for the FO. And then I'm just going to bring up the timeline. Can you guys still see my screen? Okay. So this is the general timeline. It's tight, I understand that, but we're here to help if you get caught up in any step of the way. So the funding opportunity was released on September 10th. It is due October 10th. Once your applications are submitted and the deadline passes, our team in HCF, we do all our due diligence, review your org profiles, and then we will let you know about award notifications by the end of the month. We intend to mail checks the week of November 4th. And then you'll have a 6-month report due at the end of April, 12-month report due 30 days after the grant period ends, which is the end of November 2025. So yeah, I know that was a lot. I kind of flew through it, but I'll stop sharing and see if you guys have any
There's some
questions.
questions in the chat, Michelle.
I can take the first one on the funding, if that's okay, Michelle.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, this Puna Strong collaboration grant is really a sibling to the Puna Strong Round 3 program, right? So, and that is with 10 of our grantee partners that we launched, I want to say earlier this year. And so, what supports Puna Strong each year that we've been able to run a grant cycle are philanthropic dollars that Hawaii Community Foundation has been able to bring forward through a fund of the Oak Foundation. And in terms of the county's portion of the program funds, both for technical assistance and for direct grant making, those resources come from a grant the county received after the eruption from the state legislature. It is a $20 million grant the county received that we've been regranting both through this Puna Strong program and through the Kilauea Recovery Grant Program. So for folks who may not be as versed of what are the different pieces of resources over the years and what we are now, I appreciate the question and the opportunity to kind of walk through that. So Puna Strong has always been resourced by philanthropic dollars that Hawaii Community Foundation brings in, and also kind of the county's grant from the state ledge. And for this upcoming opportunity for the collaboration grants, we have a target of $500,000 to be able to grant through this specific funding opportunity. Yeah. Amadeo, I see your hands up. Is it a related question? If you want to unmute, you can ask the question.
All right, I was having technical difficulties. So the $500,000 that's been allocated comes from the $20 million legislative grant of 20 million. Is that correct?
There's two sources of funding that are supporting Puna Strong, including this collaboration grant. And so it's the philanthropic dollars from the Oak Foundation, from the Hawaii Community Foundation side, and yes, also the legislative grant to the county. That's the public funding side of this program.
And how much is from each funding source?
I'd have to get back to you on the accounting for Puna Strong as a whole this year. I think it's about $1.1 million across the two cycles that we've been able to kind of allocate. I don't have the specific counting in front of me of which specific grant dollars are coming from which specific funds. They're encumbered, kind of the two sources in this one program.
I see. Right.
And then Rick asked if there are budget restrictions. Rick, do you mean, what do you mean by that? Like for your program? Oh.
Budget restrictions such as how much can we allocate to admin, how much for programs, can we buy food, that kind of stuff.
There's nothing explicitly stating that in I'm gonna mute you. Okay, that's better. No explicit budget restrictions in the funding opportunity, but we do evaluate your budget that you provide as part of the judging process of your application. I think as a general rule of thumb, I think no more than, is it 15% should go to admin expenses. So just, I mean, that's not explicitly stated in the FO, but I would just keep that in mind. You know, we do review the budget as a piece of the overall evaluation process. So if it looks reasonable, if it's all in alignment, then you should be good. Is there anything else you want to add, Robbie or Douglas, on that?
I have another question.
Is it about this, Amadeo, or can I help? Can I offer something clarifying here?
It's about the budget. Well, also, I mean, the admin is usually restricted to 10%, so 15% is amazing if that's true.
Yeah, so you know, one thing I can offer, I know that by design, this program is collaborative, right? And so it's not just one organization kind of accessing the resources being provided. In past lives, when I've written collaborative grants, a really important part of the collaboration is resourcing the work of each of the partners, right? And so, you know, thinking just to take Rick's question and maybe take it 1 or 2 steps forward, in a collaborative program, would say kind of a payment to one of the partner organizations to participate and provide kind of staff time or whatever it may be. That would be more of a program cost and not an administrative cost, right? For budgeting purposes and thinking about how to allocate resources. Great.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
Guys, so how does it work if we were to partner with another nonprofit and there was a project that we wanted to do together? So would that budget, would we be sharing, say we applied, would we have to share $50,000 or could it be $50,000 to each organization?
It would be 50,000 total for your program or whatever you're proposing in your application.
You're applying as a team, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's one budget. It's one budget that gets parceled out between the two organizations.
Yes.
Okay. And then the 15% admin fee, is that new for Hawaii Community Foundation? Because as Amadeo said, it has been 10%.
Sorry, no, I probably should have said that.
It's just kind of a general rule. The difficulty with this one in trying to figure out admin fee is that we anticipate that because it's a collaboration grant program, right? There's a lot of activities that you might be doing that look like traditional admin costs, right? It's general operations. Your organization has to be able to operate together to do the project. So we're not trying to lock in a specific admin fee because that it's not the same as if you do a project and then you have administrative fee tied to that project, right? They can kind of delineate that cost. But because there is really kind of general operating support that we're anticipating with some of this work, depending again on what you're proposing to do, we don't want to lock in a number. So just kind of a rule of thumb number, 10-15% is kind of where Michelle was going. That's generally what, if you get too much farther than that on just administrative costs, right? Then it just starts as part of the evaluation, right? We would take that into consideration in comparing the different proposals, but there's no hard and fast line on that in this particular funding opportunity because we do expect you to have general operating support costs.
Awesome.
Does that help a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Okay.
My other question is there a restriction on capital expenses?
Douglas, do you have any on the county funding?
I think for the county funding, we would. So, and I think a lot of foundations also have rules about what programs and what goals kind of support program versus capital. For the county side, because of the public funds involved, the county's administering, they were originally state funds, all public, start to finish, yeah. Then there's a specific legal requirement, right, that public capital funds be invested in public resources, a public building, a public road. The one exception, which folks on this call may be familiar with, is, when we launched our Kilauea Recovery Grant Program, that does provide for the use of public funds for capital improvements on private property. And we had to specifically amend the county code to provide kind of that legal purpose in order to make the program meet the needs that were out there in the community. Yeah. But that change in code was very specific to that grant program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification, guys.
Of course. And I think maybe another piece to your question, Taliesin, is for those on the call today who are very accustomed to applying for county grants or maybe even state grants, that 10% that we're all too familiar with is actually spelled out in code for certain grant programs, right? No ifs, ands, or buts. And then for other grants programs, I can speak for the county, I can't speak for the state. That 10% is just kind of common practice. And I think kind of is practice to the point that Robbie raised, right, around what's reasonable, justifiable. Yeah. But the county hasn't changed its position, just to put it out there.
Right. I think Lou had a question, maybe. No, you okay?
I have an additional question regarding the source of the funding.
Go ahead.
Well, it was my understanding that no additional funding would be taken from that $20 million allocation until the roads estimate costs were gleaned from the subcontractors. And so has that position changed, or have you gotten the bid proposals from all of the different road reconstruction components?
Yeah, great question. So just the latter part of it, right? For Public Works and Water Supply leading those infrastructure restoration projects, they've only bid out and awarded the scope that very beautifully kicked off this week from Four Corners down Highway 137 Red Road. So we have not gotten them all back. I think a piece of your question, Amadeo, is that when the county kind of partnered with Hawaii Community Foundation to launch year 3, the funds that were awarded to the round 3 grantees and these funds were all kind of kit and caboodle in one grant agreement, right? From one contract for service, right? Essentially between the county and Hawaii Community Foundation. And so no, kind of once that was awarded back in October of last year, no additional funds from the public sources, right? The state legislature grant have been encumbered. There was one encumbrance, and we've used that combined source of funds to not only launch round 3 of Puna Strong, but also now to launch this funding opportunity. But thanks for the opportunity to clarify that.
Thank you so much. So does that mean that what is available in that $20 million for allocation in the future at this point? That hasn't been, what is it called, encumbered?
Yes. I don't want to be off the cuff without the numbers in front of me. But I think for Kilauea Recovery Grant Program, right? So the $20 million has only really been used towards kind of sourcing these grant funds. Kilauea Recovery Grant Program in the first round awarded $3.6 million in the end during the first round, and $3.3 million in the second round that we did around the same time this fall. So that is nearly $7 million. And in terms of utilizing this legislature grant to support a Hawaii Community Foundation, in this most recent round, supporting these grants, right? It is about $1.2 million that was awarded. I don't have the first 2 years of public funding dollars in front of me, but to give you a sense of scale, these are what have been encumbered against this grant.
Can you provide us with the first 2 Puna Strong totals so that we have an accurate picture of what is available still?
I can follow up with that.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you, Douglas and Amadeo. Is there anyone else with questions? I did want to just address the timeline. it is tight. So applications are due on the 10th. But I just want to encourage you, if you run into any roadblocks or anything that is tripping you up that you think will delay your of getting the application in on time, please reach out. I'm here to help, me along with Kate. We're your team to help you get your application submitted and processed, and make sure that we can get this money out into the community. So please do not hesitate. I'm happy to take your call, walk you through it. If I don't know, I will figure out a way for you to for us to figure out whatever issue you may have. So we're here
And
to
please
help.
don't wait till the 10th
Right.
to do that. Reach out.
Come on with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know sooner than later. Again, if you haven't replied, or if you haven't applied before, please get yourself set up in our grants portal as soon as possible, and that'll just make everything move smoothly for this application. So but yeah, any other questions?
As far as the financial statements go, what year do they have to be from? I mean, obviously it's the most recent year, but
So we ask for, Kate might be better at this than me, but Kate, do you want to speak to that one?
What happened to my video?
I don't know. You're just a colo field.
I don't know. Anyways. Okay. I've gone. I don't know what happened to me.
Okay, we can hear you, Kate. So if you could just let him know what the
Yes, so we need obviously this year's or your fiscal year's operating budget, and then your previous year profit and loss, and then an income statement.
thank you.
And that's all listed in the funding opportunity document under the organization profile, Amadeo, if you need a reference for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And we also ask what your fiscal year is, because that makes a difference as to what documents you submit.
Thanks, Kate.
You're
I have
welcome.
another question.
Yes.
So in the RO, when it talks about a government agency, okay, so my first question is, would that include a school? If it's a state
could.
agency? Yeah.
Mhm.
And then my other question is, like, what other agencies would be able to be sort of flexible and quick enough to be able to like do a project within, you know, starting basically in a month or so and ending in a year? That just seems like really a fast pace for a government agency. Do you guys have, I don't know, I don't entirely know what my question is, but I guess I'm just like wanting to see what you guys were thinking when that went into the grant possibility.
Yeah. So number one, government agency is not a required partner, right? The
Right,
idea
sure,
is
but
that
it's
you
a possibility.
collaborate, but it's
Yeah.
it's an option as a
Yeah.
partner. Yeah, I mean, good question, right? I hope your county government's more nimble, and so maybe one of your county agencies are able to respond more quickly than some of the others might be able to. But certainly some of the schools, I've worked with them in the past, and they've been able to put programs together for in the school year or a school semester, right? It doesn't have to be a year-long project either, right? The idea is to really encourage this collaboration and partnership and networking effort. And I'm not sure what kind of program you were thinking about doing, but
I'm still thinking about it.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really trying to get transportation more accessible to families in Puna. And so this, like, my brain goes there for this grant, but it's such a huge problem, and it requires so much money and thinking that it's like trying to find the bite-sized piece that would get us closer. You know, I'm just trying to like break things up into manageable $50,000 pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, and good question. Like one reflection on your question, Taliesin, too, is, you know, I think folks should have a fair amount of space to think about what collaborations look like, you know?
Mhm.
I'm making up two very different examples, right? But the bottom line is one part of collaboration really could be kind of everyone hands in the work, right? Participating, you know, covering staff time, covering meals for members and things like that, right? Who are benefiting or participating in the work that you suggest. So say you had a coalition of 5 entities, and everyone was resourced with, you know, $10,000, right? You know, excluding administrative cost. Again, I think to Michelle's point, the $15,000 to $50,000 is a range. There isn't an explicit maximum grant award in this program, but of course, with every application, we ask you to justify kind of every expenditure, right? And that's what we evaluate. In a very different context, right? Partnership could be kind of bringing people to the table, right? I think sometimes institutions, they have a way to cover resources for the institution, but sometimes what they bring, right, is the space and the network and the collaboration, right, actually showing up to be part of it. I think in your school example, the school's example, right, it's a very important one. And sometimes, you know, one thing that slows down government is like, well, we need X number of units of ABC in order to do the program right. And usually the government agency would be the one procuring those units, right? But maybe as the lead grantee, y'all could procure the units for the collective use of everyone involved, right? Like I don't want to get in, I don't, you know, need to like pre-bake what it is, but to think about in designing our collaborations, right? How relationships and resources from our collaborating organizations map out, and how that also maps against the financial resources that you would allocate within your grant proposal. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Douglas. It's yeah, it's a lot of food for thought. Mhm.
All right. Anyone else?
Can you give us an example of a project that you think might fall under this type of cooperative? I'm just trying to get an idea of what you folks are after as far as it's so nebulous of a concept that it's really can maybe just a few like illustrative points.
Yeah, I mean, I have an abstract and less Puna focused example, but I think it's illustrative.
Perfect.
If that would be helpful.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Pulling from past lives, you know, working in a couple communities, and we're trying to support tenants to secure housing, right? And so one part of that could be one partner is a legal service agency that provides legal services for tenants. And then 4 other partners could be doing kind of know your rights training and tenant leadership development, right? To really get those roofs fixed and make sure that people aren't being charged illegal fees. And so the resources go towards, you know, a convener bringing the legal service organization and the several tenants' rights groups together, you know, resourcing staff time for everyone to participate, right? And resourcing rental space to bring all the tenant groups together, right? To do that kind of mobilization. Providing meals for tenants at tenant meetings, right? For each and every one of the organizations. So, you know, a grant like this can't pay all the bills, right? Obviously, across the partnership, but to really think about kind of that puka of opportunity among the organizations to come together, and the resource gaps that we sometimes kind of because we don't have the grants to fill them, right? We find other ways, like we donate food, or we get donated space, or, you know, we volunteer our staff time, right? And with other resources that are available. I think that's an idea, and I'm sure we can work through some others. But I know it's not super relevant to the communities we work in, but I hope it's illustrative of what's possible.
Very good. Thank you.
I have another sample that kind of popped in my head, but again, it's not specific to Puna, but for some of the Maui work that's been happening, when those groups that were trying to work together to provide food, immediate food services, right, to the victims of the fires. And it took some chefs coming together. So there was a nonprofit organization of chefs. They had to go work at the commercial kitchen set up at Maui Community College. They had to work with the farmers to get some fresh produce together. And so that collaboration of different organizations working together, some bringing in-kind support, right? Like the chefs volunteered their time to do the work, but together then they were able to literally get food out, distributed out to the victims on a regular basis. So the idea is to look at how can you partner up with and learn about or build upon the strengths of each other to then provide address some sort of community need that you see. I don't know if that's helpful.
And I actually had one that is Puna relevant. The other day I was scrolling through Facebook, and Lou, I hope it's okay I use your organization as an example. So with HVerry Hawaii Tracker, they provide, I'm sure you're all familiar, but just status updates when there's a crisis. They were key during the eruption. And I also follow the Hawaii Radio scanner community, and they made a post on Facebook the other day about they're trying to figure out how to become a 501c3 and expand their services. And I was like, that would be a great partnership, a collaboration for HVerry to kind of share resources, grow their network. But you don't have to do that. But that was something I was like, this would fit great into our collaboration grant. And I think it would make sense for Puna, but you're not tied to that, Lou. I remember thinking of that the other day.
No, that's a great example. It's perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Layla, hello. See your hand up.
Hi, yes, sorry, Mike. I got computer issues today. I have a question about the budget. Is there like restrictions as far as purchasing equipment? That's my first question. That's needed for the project. And then my other question, would something such as serving land be something that we could apply for? And I asked this because of the property that we're working on down at Ka'akepa. Like that's a major issue for us right now with the county and state and having to find boundaries of pins and property lines in order to do the management plan and the archaeological surveys and all this stuff. Like I'm just in my mind, I envisioned this something being that we could apply for to help get support in that way. So is there restrictions on equipment that could be purchased? And it would serving being something like land serving being something that would be potentially funded.
From our perspective, it would be okay. Douglas, do you guys have a restriction?
Not one that I'm aware of for equipment.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
normally when we've had to look at the question, it's often been about kind of the resources available, right? Because given equipment can take up large chunks
Right.
of project
Yeah.
budgets.
Yeah. So it's more, Leila, what proportion of your plan, right, is that going to be? But there's no specific restriction to it.
Would contractual work be allowed? For
Contractual work would be okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Layla. Good questions. Anyone else? Going once. All right, well, my contact info is at the bottom of the funding opportunity. Like I said, please feel free to reach out with questions anytime, and I'll get back to you. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I look forward to receiving your applications, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Mahalo.